Greetings, YouTube. 4,000 subscribers! Woohoo! So, this is my Q&A for the 4,000 subscribers celebration. I'm very happy to say that as of today, I had 4,009, at least at the time of filming. My subscriber count can go up and down as much as 5 people a day. I think that's due to the fact that I have a very eclectic channel, and so people will see one of my videos and subscribe because of that video. But that's not the only type of video I do, so they find themselves disenchanted with the other selections. They may only be interested in gaming videos, or they may only be interested in my political videos. They only may be interested in my gear videos. I have had some cross-pollination where people have said, I subscribed to your channel for X, but I stuck around for Y and Z, and I find them interesting. So anyone who does stick around, I appreciate it. I wish there was a way of checking your subscriber list for the duration of subscription time, so I would know who was the oldest subscriber on the channel. And I don't remember who the first subscriber was. I never saved that information. I don't know why I didn't. I figured I would have so few channel subscribers that eventually I would always be able to figure out who it was. But I don't, and I don't remember who it was. I may have to go look back at some of my early videos. I think they left a comment, and they mentioned in the comment that they were my first subscriber. They were a subscriber, and it was so early they were the first one. But I have questions here, and I'm actually got smart enough to remember to write down the names of the people who subscribed this time, asked the questions this time. In the past, I've forgotten to do that, and I apologize. So we are going to look at the questions and hopefully be able to answer them for you. So here we go. First question up is from Fractal4201, who's been around for a while, I believe. What is your craziest party wipe that occurred while you were a DM? I've never had a party wipe. I've had adventures where multiple people were either incapacitated, crippled, or dead, but I've never had a complete party wipe. We came close in the sense that the party was down to its last reserves, and they were pretty much out of options, and they just got lucky with dice rolls. But I've never had a complete party wipe. It's never happened to me. Then we have the Kaharan 1. This is going to be weird because I don't think I've ever spoken some of these names out loud, even though I've seen some of them 100 times. Is there any particular culture you would like to see represented more in RPGs, and if so, why? I think a lot of the cultures that we consider indigenous peoples get very much the short end of the stick. So pretty much any Native Americans, whether it's in Canadian Native Americans, people in the United States, Central America, South America, I think they get really screwed. The same thing with Australia, New Zealand, the Polynesian Islands. I think that they get the short end of the stick. And I think that we should see more of their cultures represented in role-playing games. Ben Glau 1. What do you think of bronies and the way they're changing masculinity? I have no problem with bronies. If people want to be fans of My Little Pony, go for it. The fact that they are male may make that a little bit, or men I should say, make that a little bit unusual, because not all men are male. And I don't know much about the brony culture, so I know it is shifting the idea that those who ascribe to masculine traits can have interests outside the traditions that are often associated with masculinity. But I don't know if that's changing masculinity. I think it's changing the fact that we don't have to view all men as requiring to have a certain subset of masculine traits. That men don't have to come with trait 1, 2, and 3 to be considered men. They can come with whatever traits they want. And that is a much healthier attitude. So I don't know if it's changing masculinity so much as changing our view that what it means to be a man has to have particular traits associated with it. The Elemental Shogun 1, which at least I think I can say. What's your favorite dinosaur? And I don't even have to, I did not put this on my desk just for this video. This dinosaur sits on my desk all the time. This is an ankylosaur, and he is, or she is, my favorite dinosaur. Another question: we know you like Blade Runner, but what is your close second favorite film? Kind of a similar genre. I will say Aliens. And I consider Aliens to be one of the possibly, arguably, the finest science fiction sequel ever done. I put it up there with Empire Strikes Back. Also one of the greatest science fiction sequels or science fantasy sequels ever done. But Aliens is just an incredible movie, even though it has plot holes large enough that you could drive you could sail the QE2 through it. And I really need to probably do a video about those plot holes, because as much as I love that film, by gosh and by golly, it's got problems. Okay, Nuclear Savity 1. Sorry, no, not 1. Just Nuclear Savity. Shoot, I put the 1 on someone's name without meaning to. Where do you store all the turf you buy? Do you or your wife throw something out again after some while? Yes, we do. There's always a box on my porch for donations. And as we don't need things, books, clothing, whatever, it goes into the box. Now, for example, a lot of the nonfiction books I read, they get donated as soon as I'm finished with them. I don't keep a lot of them. I probably get rid of 90% of them, and I try to go through my library on a regular basis and purge if I can. Role-playing game books, they stay. I'm a collector. I've purged my ceramic collection. I haven't purged my knife collection. I have sold a few pieces over the years, but very few. But my storage of those is pretty much under control at the moment. My DVDs, we strip all the cases, and we keep the DVD, and the cases get recycled. So they only take up the space for 2 DJ boxes. I should probably show off my DJ boxes just to give an idea how I go about storing them. So there is some growth in that, but it's a controlled environment. Tools, I have a toolbox, and I have a 4-drawer file cabinet in my closet, which are storing tools, and I have space in the basement and the garage. I would love to have it more organized, and I need to do things like I don't have a workbench. I need a workbench. And there are things that I still want, like a drill press and a bandsaw, a proper bandsaw, and things like that, like a grinding machine, so I can start doing some crafting that are currently outside my control. But I try to keep these things under control. So I try to get rid of things as I can. And if I find a piece of equipment is no longer working for me, I get rid of it. Or if I replace a piece of equipment with something better, I get rid of the old one. But some things I do collect. Like, for example, you may be able to see the shiny flashlight behind me because I just picked the flashlight up at a yard sale yesterday. Fabio Fontes? I don't know. I remember you saying somewhere, if this is not the case, I'm sorry, that you were not interested in D&D 5th edition at all. Have you changed your thoughts on this given the overwhelming reception of the edition, or do you maintain your decision of not playing it? Also, if you had played it, what are your thoughts? Well, nope, I have not changed my position that I have no interest in 5th edition. I hear that there are a lot of people that are really happy with it, and more power to them. Seriously, I'm happy for you. Congratulations. And just like I'm happy the people that want to play 1st edition and 2nd edition, and people who want to play 3rd edition as opposed to 3.5, and those that want to play 4th, or want to play 5th, and those that like all the old school games, go for it. Just do me a favor. Just one fellow gamer to another, don't friggin' tell me that what I like isn't as valid as what you like. I've been down that road. I've made that mistake. It made me sound like a douche. Guess what it makes you sound like? Now this one, I got the first name right, I think. I think the first name is Yun, but the last name is P-L-E-W-A. It's German, so I'm going to say Plo, but I'm probably wrong there. I probably just threw a French accent in there, and I didn't mean to. So here we have a bunch of questions from Yun. I got the Yun right. I actually asked a German person. I forgot to ask the German person about how to say the last name, so apologies. What would be your favorite job? That's an excellent question. I would probably say maker. If I could be a full-time maker, that would be awesome. I would have to be independently wealthy, however, to do that, because my making interests are as eclectic as my video interest, and I would want to dabble in a whole lot of different things and not necessarily make the same type of thing forever. So even if I got into knives, I wouldn't necessarily want to make the same type of knife every single time. So I would have a wide variety of different things to come up with. And while that would attract and audience, it would not necessarily attract a broad enough audience to live on. But who knows? I might get lucky. 2, would you change to a specific country if you could take all the things with you? Would you speak the language and had a job and a home in the new country? If not, would you have liked to be born in another country? I would not change where I live because my family is here. In the sense that, but we have 3 aging parents in the area, and we are part of their support network. I own a building. One of the reasons we own the building is because my mother-in-law lives downstairs, and I don't want to abandon my country because even though I am disgusted with it 99% of the time, I'm not disgusted with it all the time, and I don't want to abandon it to those that are the reason that I am disgusted by it. So, no, I don't want to leave my country. I would really love for my country, America, to be a whole lot more like some Scandinavian nations that have a very distinctly socialist bent, because they have a far better sense quality of life, and they handle things in a much greater, healthier way. There's so much that is better in those countries. My brother-in-law lives in Sweden, and I think he's a very lucky man, but I'm not willing to give up what I've got here and what it means to me. And I don't speak any other language than English. The old joke going, a person that speaks 3 languages is multilingual, a person that speaks 2 languages is bilingual, and a person that speaks 1 language is an American. 3, overall, do you think physical or psychological harm is worse? Well, you can't have psychological harm separate from physical. So if you're beating someone, you're doing psychological harm to them as well as physical harm. You are creating a level of trauma. It's not like if you hit someone, there is no intimately linked psychological damage to that. So if you rape someone, or if a person is raped, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cast aspersions on my listeners, or someone is beaten, there's no way to separate that. Now, it is possible to psychologically or emotionally harm someone without beating or raping them, and that's horrible. But I'm not going to compare pain. But there's no way to separate emotional and psychological harm from physical harm. I apologize that I read that incorrectly. Jan is German, speaks English as a second language, and I didn't mean to make fun of his writing. Sorry about that. I think it's a he, by the way. I'm not 100% sure. I don't actually know Jan's sex or gender. 4, rule of cool in your games or not. I am not willing to let cool overrule internal consistency and fairness and a certain sense of logic. So no, if someone just says, I'm going to do this cool thing, and that cool thing runs against the context of the game, it's not what the game is about, I'm not going to do that. So I guess rule of cool doesn't rule in my games. 5, what is your favorite music style? I would probably have to say blues or at least story style musics. Do you use music in your games? I never really have, to tell you the truth. I think I've used it a couple of times. And are some of your favorite songs? My favorite song is probably Steve Earle's Copperhead Road. And my favorite Christmas song, because I'm filming this around Christmas time, is the Kinks' Father Christmas. But I like songs that still tell stories. Even if they're very spoken wordy, I'm okay with that. But then again, I'm a big David Bowie fan, and a lot of his stuff was, glam rock and poppy and things like that. So I'm a major Joe Cocker fan, Steve Earle, Eric Clapton's blues work. These are the type of things I like. Bap Kennedy has done some great work. Then again, I love Sade. That voice is just like velvet. I have strange tastes, I admit, but I guess you could say a blanket statement, I like songs that tell a story. 6, since 2012, consider let's plays of your gaming session. I don't really have any desire to do that kind of thing. Not to mention it's prohibitively difficult as far as rendering and things like that. It's just not my vibe. This is the way it is. 7. Do you think certain things should be general taboo in gaming, e.g. Nazis? No, I don't think it should be taboo. I think that they have to be shown in the proper context. So there's no reason you can't have American slavery, the slavery period in a game, as long as it's kept in context, as opposed to literally whitewashing it like Deadlands did. There's no reason you can't have Nazis in a game, so long as the Nazis aren't the heroes, unless you are in like the Reichstag, where you're fighting against the fact that the Nazis won and you're trying to bring the government down. As long as the context is correct, I don't think anything is taboo. I've had zombie prostitutes in games. Okay, so I'm willing to touch things that some people aren't, as long as the context is correct. But that being said, I don't think I'd ever want to actually play a game of Reichstag. 8. With all your knowledge about gaming, will you develop a system by now? Would you be interested in participating in a development? I have done ad hoc, off-the-cuff gaming systems in the past. I've actually have some notes kicking around. In fact, these notes may be sitting here on top of my scanner, for the idea of, if you're going to do an old school game with the actual aim of making a simple system, which is something I don't think that pretty much any old school game actually does, even though they say that's their goal, that isn't what they end up doing, because I will still argue forever that every role-playing game has exactly the same number of rules. Games like Pathfinder put them in books and you can read them. Old school games, they live inside the GM's head and they are passed around like folklore. I don't like that model. But if you're going to try to have an old school style game that is actually as simple as it can, while still conveying a particular feel, I think you could do it. And even though I hate old school games, I actually have notes on what would I do if I were to design an old school game. I have no idea if I'm going to do anything with it, but I've got notes sitting right there next to me. If I ever decide to do something, I could. Heavily influenced by Stars Without Number, which is probably one of the only old school games I would ever actually use, because they did such a great job with the psionic rules in that. They took some, I love third edition psionic rules, and Stars Without Number did some really great things with that idea. Kudos to that team. A Visigoth! Is your wife the same religion as you, and does it matter to you what religion she is? Does she have any political or other beliefs that go against what you like? My wife is kind of like a non-denominational pagan. She's had certain gods and goddesses that she has venerated in the past, but she doesn't have a particular set of that she venerates on a regular basis, and her thinking is heavily influenced by Buddhism, as is in many ways. Mine is, I consider myself to be a political, philosophical Buddhist as opposed to a religious Buddhist, because I don't worship Buddha as a god. No, my wife and I are pretty much on the same page politically, so there is not a lot of differences there, and if there were a severe shift, that could cause problems. If my wife suddenly started listening to Fox News and conservative talk shows, radio hosts and things, and started believing their absolute bullshit, yes, that would cause a rift in our relationship, because it would mean that she would have abdicated reason completely, and would have decided that she wants to hate the world around her and live in a constant state of trembling fear. So yes, that would be a problem for me. Cosmo Shidan, which is a name I've always enjoyed. Do you have any favorite episode of Peter Fox? Columbo. No, I do not. I have not watched Columbo in probably 20 years, and while I enjoyed the show and I loved Peter Falk, I don't have enough memories to give a specific episode recommendation or thoughts on that. 2. Do you think ethics should be based on principles or happiness? Principles, because happiness is just far too subjective. Do you think philosophy should be taught to children in K-12 system in all of North America? Yes. Yes, I do. Philosophy, ethics, morality, those should be core messages that we teach children, along with critical thinking. 4. Do you know that episode of Columbo is like a Socratic dialogue come to life? Yes, I did. And I would like to comment that Cosmo Shidan, I don't think has ever left a comment on my channel that didn't somehow, even tangentially, relate to philosophy. So, kudos to Cosmo Shadan for consistency. Krut and Schmiel, which is German, I think, and I just butchered. I apologize, but wow, I can't say that right. But yeah, I apologize about that one. Krutenschmiel? I don't know. Actually, what is that sparkling thing to your left, our right? That sparkling thing? This one right here that seems to be so full of mystery to people. It's a Christmas tree that came from a diorama set that you could buy, or you could probably still buy, some kind of Christmas village thing that was originally the kind of thing that you would put around a Christmas tree. You have a train running around it, that kind of thing. That's a Christmas tree. It's kind of a Charlie Brown Christmas tree because it's nothing but wires in a Christmas tree shape, and it blinks prettily, and I happen to like it. I picked it up for a song at the end of the season, post-Christmas season. I mean, I just love it, and I tend to turn it on in my lighter videos as opposed to my heavier heavier philosophical or political videos. But that's what that is. It is a tree. Okay. Isaac Yoder asks, do you have any odd fears or phobias? If so, what are they? I had a major issue with zombies at one time. And one time I didn't, then my subconscious associated my anxieties with zombies, and I still have no desire to be involved in zombie-like things because of that. I don't need to fuel my nightmares, because zombies are pretty much nightmare fuel for me still, even though I am not afraid of them in real life. At one time I was legitimately afraid of zombies in the real life because I was not dealing with my anxieties, and my anxieties were in real life, so my fear manifested itself as a fear of zombies in the real world. There was a time I only felt safe while I was driving, because a zombie couldn't get me inside my car while I was driving. That's the only time I felt safe. It was not a healthy time for me. But, you know, I have a fear of falling, but not heights. I don't mind being high. I just have a fear of falling. Even if I'm on a stepladder, I have a fear of falling off the stepladder. I have this weird thing, and this is probably going to sound very, very strange. I don't know if it's a fear or phobia, but it's a thing I think falls into the same genre. I can't have too many dishes in the sink. I don't know why. If the dishes like get above the sink level, I have like an 8-inch deep sink, and if they're stacked higher than that, it makes me physically ill, and I immediately clean the dishes. So I do a lot of dishes in my house. I'm okay with that. It's my issue. I don't know why it is. I've never been able to figure it out. I've been in therapy. I'm in therapy now. Never have even come up close to figuring out why I have that issue with dishes. It makes no sense to me, but it's reality. It's what I deal with sometimes. William Bernard. Hey, it's a name that's not too hard to say. What got you playing RPGs? I'm curious because I've been interested for a while. Also, how do you play? Now, I answered the second part of that question with a link to a video, what is a role-playing game, a video I did a while back. So that part's been answered. But it got me into the role-playing games was my friend Greg. I've mentioned Greg on numerous occasions here on my channel. He got me into them way back in '78 because he had a gaming group at the best gaming table I've ever sat at in my entire life, because it was actually a medieval British piece of history. It was an antique table with carved chairs, hand-carved black walnut chairs all the way around. It was just unbelievably beautiful, and it was the best gaming environment I've ever been in. It was just incredible. But he got me into it, and he probably regrets that to this day. Zoe Wolfchild has asked, do you have a Tumblr? And you mentioned it several times. I don't have a Tumblr. I've thought about having a Tumblr. I'm still thinking about having a Tumblr someday. But I do enjoy looking at other people's Tumblrs. I just don't... I'm not part of that, so I just have a folder in my bookmarks of people's Tumblrs I look at. So there you go. What are your favorite YouTube channels? That's a really tough call. Because again, my interest in YouTube is as eclectic as my channel itself. So I have lots of things that deal with... games and technology and video games and politics and people that talk about social justice and ASMR, and there's lots of different things that I'm into. So saying I have favorites is hard. I love Gopher. I really like Sloshworks channels for gaming stuff. The Young Turks is I think is a great channel, even if I don't agree with them all the time. In fact, I don't agree with them a lot of the time. I still think it's a great channel. There are people like Marina Shut Up, who does some great work when it comes to social justice. There are lots of channels that I love. I love my friend Amelia's channel, even though it's not a big channel. I still love her and her channel. The Gentleman Gamer, the Rogue DM. These are channels that I enjoy. The Weapon Collector does some great weapons things, and there's a number of different weapon channels I'm subscribed to. There's some knife channels. People just talk about knives and do reviews. I'm into knife review gear, things like that. Was it Nonez or something? It's a Czechoslovakian knife channel. I can't understand a word this guy says, but his videos are like a 1 to 2 minute long. He shows off the knife the way I want to see it. He's got hands like hams. As I know, because I own some of the knives he reviews, and he makes them look like children's toys. But again, I just like that because it just shows me the knife. I don't want to listen sometimes to a long video. I just want to see what the knife looks like, and his channel does that. So I've got a very eclectic taste, so I can't really answer that question. Though I might do another shout-out video at some point. I've done them in the past. What are your favorite nonfiction books? The Power of Myth is my favorite. The Gift of Fear. Again, off my head, the Glover's Pocket Reference Guide. It's my favorite nonfiction books. Was it the Deep Blues? Was another one recently. Eric Clapton's autobiography was incredible. Some of these things are just the ones because they're in my head recently. But if I review it and it's a positive review, then it's something I think you should read. There's lots of things out there that I read that don't make it to this channel because sometimes I don't finish the book, sometimes it's horrible, and I don't review it. But the ones I just mentioned are some of my favorites. Why do you only read nonfiction books? I've covered that in a video, but essentially because I read so many novels, I saw the same patterns over and over and over and over again. And while it was nice in some ways, I got tired of reading the same stories. And I found nonfiction to be less repetitious, to be endlessly interesting, a constant source of information. It was new all the time, whereas the novels I was reading were no longer new. Even if there were new books coming from new authors, it was the same stories over and over again. Does your wife share the same exact views as you, and where do you differ? We have, like I said, we're pretty much on the same page. We probably differ slightly in certain areas, but there's nothing major. She drinks beer. I don't have any involvement in alcohol at all. She loves coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. That's the level of the differences between us. On the major issues of life, we are pretty much on the same page. Josh Head, what's your favorite RPG class? LOL. Probably Ranger, Fighter, something like that. I've always liked those. Peachy Keen, which is an awesome name, I should point out. What triggers your ASMR? Audio sensory meridian response, which is that tingly sensation you get in the back of the head when you watch Bob Ross talk about tiny little trees. I like a lot of the personal attention videos because the personal attention videos have a certain tone of voice that's used in them. But if that tone is hit on other types of videos, I'm okay with that too. And I'll listen to people talk about anything if it hits that tone. I also prefer female voices, exclusively. I happen to like female voices. And I prefer accents. So those are the kind of things I look for in an ASMR video. I may actually do an ASMR video about some of my favorite channels at some point. And the last question I have, what made you want to start making YouTube videos? Which is an awesome question to finish my little video with now, isn't it? What made me want to start? As I've said in the past, wow, this is running half an hour. I apologize. I'm just looking at the counter. I am a talkative, opinionated SOB. Always have been. And this gives me the venue to talk about stuff I like, and I don't like, and I love, and I don't love, and I find interesting, and things I don't find interesting. It makes me it gives me the chance to talk about all kinds of things, and it gives me an opportunity to help share my story. Sometimes people think, oh, you're just ego, and it's necessarily always ego. Take my word for it when I'm telling people about painful things. I'm not doing it because it strokes my ego. In fact, I'm doing it to help me can keep my ego in control, to eventually kill my ego. I would like my ego to go away. I'm working on that. It's not always easy. But if I can help normalize the discussion, the idea that we can have a talk about abuse and anxiety and depression and how we deal with the problems of the world, and we find ourselves frustrated, and then we figure out why we're frustrated, that's fascinating and it's interesting. And if I can possibly help someone else to figure out why they are frustrated with something, because if you're frustrated with something, that's a sign that you need to look at it. Don't ignore it. When you're angry, why are you angry? You need to look at that. You need to find out why. That's important. That's your subconscious telling you this is something you need to look at. And this has given me the chance to talk about those things. Plus, I talk about gear. I love gear. And I can keep people from buying crappy gear and help suggest people who want to buy good gear. I talk about action figures, or in-action figures in some cases, because I like them. I find them interesting. I talk about bargains I find, because I love bargain hunting. And other people seem to oddly enjoy my bargain hunting. In fact, I have things on this bench behind me which are waiting for my next video about bargain hunting. I'll be leaving in an hour from now to go do some more bargain hunting. And I maybe could film me a video for this week of bargain hunting. Those are the kind of things I like. And I've helped people find bargains, and I've helped people know when there are bargains out there to go look for. So I do this because I like connecting with people. I like talking with people. It does mean that I do encounter douches, sometimes on a regular basis, and I don't want to deal with them. Sometimes I make them go away. And if someone is just going to spread hate and negativity, I don't have a need for them in my life. There are times I can't do anything about that in the real world because they may live near me or work with me or be in a social circle I can't escape from in some cases. But here I don't have to deal with them if I don't want to. And I kind of like that sometimes. But they're always replaced by new douches. There's an endless series of them. So that's why I'm here. I'm here because I like to talk. I'm here because I like the community. I'm here because I like my subscribers and I enjoy spending time with them. And they've given me new thoughts and ideas, and they've challenged my thoughts and ideas. 5 years ago, I saw gender and sex intimately, inextricably linked. And now I know they're not. That's a big friggin' shift. And part of that shift, a big part of that shift, was talking to people on YouTube. It can prove to you how wrong you can be. And that's okay. There's absolute no shame in being wrong. There's no shame in being ignorant. There's only shame in remaining ignorant. There's only shame in remaining wrong when you realize that you are wrong. And I try to avoid that if I can. So that's why I'm here. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And my question, of course, is probably, why are you here?